The ground just shifted beneath your feet. A single decision made by 9 people in Washington has potentially rewritten the rules of gun ownership for every American. If you own a firearm, if you live with someone who does, or if you simply care about your safety and your rights, you need to understand what happened today. This is not a drill. This is not political noise. This is a concrete legal reality that changes how law enforcement can interact with you, how your property is protected, and how your Second Amendment rights are defined in the modern era. The Supreme Court has issued a 6-3 ruling that strikes down a major restriction on gun laws, and the ripple effects are already beginning to spread across the country. Most people will hear about this in passing. They will see a headline, shrug, and move on with their day. That is a mistake. Ignoring this ruling means ignoring a fundamental change in the balance of power between the government and the citizen. It means walking into situations unaware of your new rights, or worse, assuming you have rights that might still be contested in specific local jurisdictions. The danger here is not just in what the court said, but in the confusion that follows. Confusion leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to legal trouble. Legal trouble can cost you your freedom, your money, and your future. You need clarity right now. You need to know exactly what this means for your daily life, for your home, and for your family. To understand why this ruling is so explosive, we have to look past the legal jargon and look at the real-world impact. For years, there has been a growing tension between state-level gun control measures and federal constitutional protections. Many states and cities enacted laws that effectively made it difficult, if not impossible, for ordinary citizens to exercise their right to bear arms outside their homes. These laws created a patchwork of regulations where carrying a firearm for self-defense was treated as a privilege granted by the government, rather than a right protected by the Constitution. The Supreme Court's decision today dismantles that framework. By voting 6-3, the court has sent a clear message that the right to self-defense does not end at your front door. This is a massive shift. It challenges the authority of local governments to impose strict barriers on concealed carry permits. It questions the validity of laws that require citizens to prove they have a special need for protection before they are allowed to carry a weapon. For decades, the argument was that you had to show a unique threat to your life to qualify for a permit. The court has now rejected that idea. They have stated that the need for self-defense is common, not special. This distinction is critical. It means that the average person, going about their average day, has the same constitutional standing to protect themselves as anyone else. If you are feeling overwhelmed by the speed of these changes, you are not alone. The legal landscape is moving fast, and keeping up requires effort. But staying informed is the best way to protect yourself and your loved ones. If you value clear, no-nonsense explanations that help you navigate these complex issues, consider subscribing to this channel. We break down the news that matters so you can stay ahead of the curve. Your subscription helps us continue to provide this vital information without clutter or bias. It is a small action that ensures you remain part of a community dedicated to understanding and protecting individual rights. Now, let's get back to the details, because the specifics of this ruling are where the real story lies. The core of today's decision rests on the interpretation of the Second Amendment. The majority opinion argues that the text of the Constitution must be understood in light of its historical tradition. This means that when courts evaluate gun laws, they cannot just look at whether the law seems reasonable or useful to modern policymakers. They must look at history. They must ask whether there is a historical precedent for restricting the right in this specific way. If there is no historical tradition of such a restriction, then the law is likely unconstitutional. This is a game changer. It shifts the burden of proof. In the past, gun owners often had to prove that a law violated their rights. Now, the government must prove that a law is consistent with centuries of legal tradition. This is a much higher bar for lawmakers to clear. It means that many existing gun control measures are suddenly on shaky ground. Laws that ban carrying firearms in sensitive places, laws that impose arbitrary fees on permits, and laws that restrict who can buy guns based on vague criteria are all now subject to intense scrutiny. The 6 justices in the majority have opened the door for a wave of legal challenges that could reshape gun policy across the nation. But here is where it gets serious. While the ruling is a victory for gun rights advocates, it is not a free-for-all. The court did not say that all gun laws are invalid. They did not say that you can carry a weapon anywhere, anytime, without restriction. The decision explicitly acknowledges that governments can still regulate firearms. They can still determine sensitive places where guns are prohibited, such as schools, courthouses, and polling stations. They can still establish objective licensing requirements, such as background checks and training standards. The key word here is objective. The laws cannot be subjective. They cannot give officials the discretion to deny a permit based on personal judgment or arbitrary standards. This nuance is crucial. Many people will misinterpret this ruling as a total removal of all regulations. That is false. And that misunderstanding can lead to dangerous behavior. If you assume you can walk into a federal building with a concealed weapon because of this ruling, you are wrong. If you assume you no longer need a permit in a state that requires one, you are wrong. The ruling strikes down the subjective evaluation of need, not the requirement for responsible ownership. Understanding this difference is the line between being an empowered citizen and becoming a criminal defendant. What happens next is where the uncertainty lies, and uncertainty is where people make mistakes. In the immediate aftermath of this decision, state and local lawmakers will scramble to respond. Some will attempt to rewrite their laws to comply with the new standard. Others may try to push the boundaries, testing how far they can go before another lawsuit stops them. This creates a period of legal limbo. During this time, law enforcement officers on the street may not be fully trained on the new guidelines. They may operate under old assumptions. This puts you, the citizen, in a vulnerable position. If you are stopped by police while carrying a firearm, the interaction could be tense. The officer may believe you are violating a law that has just been struck down, or they may be unsure of the current status. Your behavior in that moment matters more than ever. Knowing your rights is important, but knowing how to assert them calmly and legally is vital. Aggression, ambiguity, or ignorance can escalate a routine stop into a life-threatening situation. This is why education is your best defense. You must know the specific laws in your state, even as they are changing. You must know what documents you need to carry. You must know how to communicate with law enforcement respectfully and clearly. This is a good moment to pause and reflect on the responsibility that comes with these rights. If you find this information valuable, please take a second to like this video. It helps the algorithm share this critical update with more people who need to hear it. A simple click can help ensure that your friends, family, and neighbors are also informed about these changes. Sharing knowledge is a powerful way to build a safer, more aware community. Now, let's dig deeper into the practical implications, because the devil is in the details. One of the most significant aspects of this ruling is its impact on concealed carry permits. In many states, particularly those with strict gun laws, obtaining a concealed carry permit required applicants to demonstrate proper cause. This often meant proving that you were under specific threat, such as receiving death threats or working in a high-risk profession like armored car transport. For the average citizen, this was an impossible hurdle. You could not get a permit simply because you wanted to protect your family. The Supreme Court has declared this standard unconstitutional. They have ruled that the desire for general self-defense is sufficient. This means that millions of Americans who were previously barred from legally carrying a firearm for protection may now be eligible. However, this does not happen automatically. You still must apply. You still must pass background checks. You still must meet training requirements. The change is in the criteria for approval, not the elimination of the process. If you live in a state that previously denied you a permit due to lack of special need, you should monitor your state's legislative response closely. There may be a window of opportunity to apply under the new guidelines, but do not rush in blindly. Wait for the official guidance from your local authorities. Applying under outdated forms or procedures could lead to unnecessary delays or rejections. Another area of concern is the definition of sensitive places. The court indicated that states can still prohibit guns in certain locations. But what counts as a sensitive place? Is a public park sensitive? Is a subway station? Is a restaurant that serves alcohol? These questions are now open for debate. Some states may attempt to expand the list of sensitive places to effectively ban carrying in most public areas. This would likely face immediate legal challenges, but until those challenges are resolved, the laws on the books remain enforceable. This creates a trap for the unwary. You might believe that a certain location is fair game because it is not a school or a courthouse, but local ordinance might say otherwise. Violating that ordinance could result in arrest, confiscation of your firearm, and criminal charges. Even if the law is eventually struck down, you still have to deal with the arrest and the legal battle. That is a costly and stressful outcome that can be avoided with caution. The smart approach is to assume that restrictions are in place until you have verified otherwise. Carry your permit, know the local statutes, and when in doubt, leave the firearm secured in your vehicle or at home. It is better to be safe and compliant than to be right and incarcerated. The financial implications of this ruling are also worth considering. Legal battles are expensive. Taxpayer money will be spent defending old laws and drafting new ones. Gun owners may face costs associated with updating permits, attending new training courses, or hiring legal counsel if they run into trouble. Insurance policies for gun owners may also see changes. As the legal landscape shifts, liability coverage may become more complex. If you carry a firearm for self-defense, you should review your insurance coverage. Ensure that you have protection against accidental discharge, legal defense funds, and civil liability. This is not about expecting trouble. It is about being prepared for the unexpected. An accident can happen to anyone. A misunderstanding with law enforcement can happen to anyone. Having the right financial safeguards in place protects your assets and your future. Do not overlook this practical step. It is just as important as knowing the law itself. Let's talk about the social impact. This ruling is polarizing. It will deepen the divide between those who view gun ownership as a fundamental right and those who view it as a public safety risk. In your community, you may hear heated debates. You may encounter hostility from neighbors or colleagues who disagree with the court's decision. It is important to handle these interactions with grace and discretion. Your right to own a firearm does not require you to announce it to everyone you meet. In fact, discretion is a key component of responsible gun ownership. Flashing a weapon or boasting about your rights can create unnecessary tension and paint a target on your back. Respect the views of others, even if you disagree. Focus on your own responsibility and safety. Do not engage in arguments that serve no purpose other than to inflame emotions. Your goal is to protect your family, not to win a political debate at the dinner table. Keep your counsel, keep your skills sharp, and keep your head on a swivel. As we move forward, the role of training becomes even more critical. With more people likely to carry firearms, the overall level of proficiency in the population may vary. This increases the risk of accidents. If you are a new carrier, or even if you have been carrying for years, commit to ongoing training. Marksmanship is only one part of the equation. Decision-making under stress, legal use of force, and de-escalation techniques are equally important. Seek out reputable instructors who emphasize safety and legality. Do not rely solely on internet videos or informal advice from friends. Professional training provides muscle memory and mental frameworks that can save your life in a crisis. It also demonstrates to law enforcement and the courts that you take your responsibility seriously. In the event of a self-defense incident, having a record of regular training can be a powerful factor in showing that you acted reasonably and responsibly. It shows that you are not a danger to the community, but a prepared citizen. The part almost nobody is prepared for is the psychological weight of carrying a firearm. It changes how you move through the world. You become more aware of your surroundings. You notice exits. You assess threats. This heightened awareness can be a benefit, making you safer in many situations. But it can also be a burden. It can make you feel isolated or paranoid if not managed correctly. It is important to maintain a balanced perspective. Carrying a firearm is a tool for last resort protection. It is not an invitation to seek out conflict. Most dangerous situations can be avoided through awareness and avoidance. Your firearm is there for the rare moment when avoidance fails. Keep that hierarchy in mind. Avoidance first, de-escalation second, force only as an absolute last resort. This mindset keeps you out of trouble and keeps your conscience clear. We must also address the issue of reciprocity. Many states have agreements that recognize each other's concealed carry permits. This ruling may disrupt some of these agreements. States that previously refused to recognize permits from certain jurisdictions may change their policies. Conversely, states that were forced to issue permits may now have their permits recognized more widely. If you travel with your firearm, you must check the reciprocity laws for every state you pass through. Do not assume that your home state permit is valid everywhere. Laws vary wildly from border to border. A mistake in one state could mean felony charges. Use reliable resources to verify reciprocity before you pack your bag. Plan your route. Know where you can and cannot carry. This level of diligence is the price of freedom. It requires effort, but the alternative is catastrophic. As this script nears its conclusion, remember that the Supreme Court's decision is just the beginning of a long legal and social adjustment period. The 6-3 vote reflects a deep ideological split in the country. This means that the debate is far from over. Future court cases will refine the edges of this ruling. New laws will be tested. Precedents will be set. You must stay engaged. Do not set this information aside and forget it. Make it a habit to stay informed about changes in your local laws. Join local organizations that advocate for responsible gun ownership. Attend town halls. Vote in local elections. The judges and lawmakers who shape these policies are elected or appointed by people who pay attention. Your voice matters. Your vote matters. Your engagement matters. If you have found this breakdown helpful, please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Think of that friend or family member who owns a gun but might not be up to date on the latest legal developments. Sending them this video could help them avoid a serious mistake. It could help them stay safe and stay legal. Sharing is an act of care. It shows that you look out for the people around you. Let's build a network of informed, responsible citizens who support each other in navigating these complex times. In the end, this ruling is about more than just guns. It is about the relationship between the individual and the state. It is about the trust that citizens can protect themselves when the government cannot be everywhere at once. It is about the recognition that fear is a natural part of the human experience, and that the right to alleviate that fear through self-defense is fundamental. But with that right comes a heavy responsibility. You are now the first line of defense for your family. You are the guardian of your own safety. That is a role that demands seriousness, discipline, and continuous learning. Do not take it lightly. Do not treat it as a game. Treat it with the respect it deserves. The stakes have never been higher. The laws are changing, the environment is shifting, but you are not powerless. You have the ability to adapt, to learn, and to protect. Use this knowledge wisely. Stay calm, stay alert, stay informed. The future of your rights depends on your willingness to understand them and defend them responsibly. This is not the end of the conversation. It is a new chapter. And how you write that chapter is up to you. Make sure it is a story of responsibility, safety, and freedom. Do not let confusion dictate your actions. Let clarity guide you. Let preparation protect you. And let your commitment to safety be unwavering. This is your life. This is your family. This is your right. Protect it with everything you have.